Alright, y'all, what's going on? This is Bootcamp Day 11, right? So today we're going to be talking about SMT. This is going to be the last Confluence piece I am teaching you guys before we get into strategy. So I hope you guys understood everything, and this is the last video before we really get into it for real, alright? So we are going to be going over SMT divergences, okay? What is that? So just as I talked about session highs and lows, right? On ES, right? Understand this. ES is the top 500 companies, right? NASDAQ is the top 100. So they basically move the same, right? And what we can get from this is when we have a previous day low, or even just any type of liquidity in the market, right? What could happen? Since we wait for ES to interact with our key levels, another thing that could happen is that price would interact with it on NASDAQ. It will not show up, it will not push up to our key levels on ES, and then they will both start reacting the same way. When that happens, I do not trade that shit. I only want to trade off of key levels when ES hits the key level, but if we want to understand what price is doing and try to read it better, we use NASDAQ to also look at key levels, right? So also try practicing that and understanding that. I'll show you guys an example when I pull one up. And for when you trade off of key levels for ES, your take profit is also off of key levels. Well, usually there's going to be times where you're going to enter a trade off a key level and it's going to be so volatile you can only target like 15 to 30 points or even more. So that's like 750 to like, I say no more than 1.5k, even 2k. It just depends, right? As you get better in day trading, you're gonna realize I can low key hold this bitch the whole way. I can low key. But the thing is, with funded accounts, there's gonna be rules where you can only make so much because there's a consistency rule. We're gonna get into that when I talk about funded accounts, but you can only make so much, so that's why you just cool off of 15 to 20, 30 points, take out your 750 to 1.5k. And sometimes what you would do is price won't, instead, let's say you want to take out 1.5, right? But the next key level for your take profit that you're targeting is only $800. So then you're only taking out 800 and not the 1.5, right? We use our key levels to enter trades and we use it to leave trades. I hope that makes sense, and I'm about to show you guys an example. Okay, so here's an example of an SMT, right? My bad for the shitty ass example. I'm trying to replay the shit and show you guys live, but when I try to move the market, it's not moving on both of them at the same time, which I don't know why it's doing that shit. So I can only show you guys an example, right? So for example, New York opened and we had these key levels from previous session highs and lows, right? We're only focused on lows because this is an SMT example, but we marked out our previous session lows when New York opened, and same thing for NASDAQ. The same way you mark out your sessions on ES is the same thing. The same way you do it for any type of whatever you're trading. Doesn't matter. The same way you mark it out is the same way you mark it out for everything. So when you mark out your lows, as we can see here, NASDAQ is on my right, ES is on my left. So NASDAQ came down, it took out this London and Asia low, but when ES came down, it did not take out any of these two lows. But guess what? Price moved up though, right? And that is an example of SMT. So basically it's saying that when we look for reactions and stuff, if one of these indexes, whatever you're trading, NASDAQ or ES, it goes for both ways. If one of them takes out a session liquidity zone, then it will work the exact same way for the other index, but not all the time. And I'll show you another example. All right, and here's another example to the upside. We're going back into time from right here, right? My bad, I can't show you guys exactly. It's not letting me do both at the same time still, but I took a trade on ES, for example, right? Which I literally did. I bought like right here. Yeah, I literally bought the bottom of this, and my take profit was at the next high that we have, right? What high was that? All-time highs. If I would have known that was all-time highs, I didn't peep it, but if I would have known, I would have held my shit all the way. Price did not react the same way it did with the other SMT we had, but this is an example of an SMT, and this is I'm gonna teach you an example of how we would use this for take profits as well, because this does happen sometimes. Just as I showed you, the level ES doesn't have to touch it just so it can move up. Same thing for NASDAQ. NASDAQ doesn't have to touch the level as long as ES did, right? It goes both ways. And I was trying to take a long. My take profit is up here. But as I was in this trade, NASDAQ already took out its next session liquidity. Right? I don't believe this was all-time highs, but it did take out its next session liquidity, which was aligned to my ES shit, because the next session liquidity to the outside was on ES was all-time highs. And when NASDAQ took it out, I was like, okay, I'm going to exit my trade. So even though my take profit was up here, I probably like got out right here, because I was like, since NASDAQ took it out, there is a chance that we could possibly reverse down, right? That didn't happen until later throughout the market a little bit. Yeah, it's just a slight reversal, but that is an example of SMTs. I hope y'all understand that. Like I said, if y'all get any questions, ask the Discord. And I'm about to drop a psychology video. Yeah, I'm gonna keep everything in the same boot camp, and then we're about to go get into strategy.